Welcome back, everybody. It's Bronson with the Epoxy Resin Store, and today I want to share something really exciting with you. Polyaspartic coats that never yellow. All right, today we're going to take this polyaspartic coating and we're going to put it on this countertop that we've built and primed. It's ready to go. So we're going to come over here. I'm using polyaspartic that you get from the Epoxy Resin Store. I'll drop a link below. It's a 2-to-1 mix ratio, so you're going to want to make sure you mix accordingly. People ask why not epoxy over polyaspartic? Well, despite all the press you might have read, all epoxy with time will yellow or amber with time. Polyaspartic will not. So it's a really, really great coating to use if you have a white surface or just something where you never want ambering to happen. Okay, I measured out the back countertop there, and it's approximately 20 square feet. And so we use a 3 ounces per square foot on the polyaspartic as well. And so that's going to be 60 ounces of polyaspartic that we mix up. That'll be 40 ounces of A, 20 ounces of B. Okay, now that I've got my 2 parts poured, I'm going to mix them slowly with a paddle drill. Remember when mixing to make sure that you're getting the sides and the bottom as well, so you have a thorough mix. All right, now I'm going to take my mixed product, I'm going to pour it out on here. With the polyaspartic really sets fast in humidity. I have a dry climate here, so I'm going to pour this out. I'm going to have about 45 minutes of working time. But if you're somewhere that's really, really humid outside, it's going to cut your working time down. So like if you're really, really humid out there, you might only have like 30 minutes or 25 minutes. Just keep that in mind. You don't need that much time to spread it out and work with it, but you want to make sure that you know your cure times. All right, I've got my notch trowel out here. Make sure you're using a notch trowel when you're using polyaspartics and spraying it out. Unlike epoxy, where I'll leave a little extra on the piece if I need to, with polyaspartics, I want to leave just enough to cover it so that it cures. It's an interesting coating. Thin to win, so you don't want to have a ton of extra stuff on there. It'll just slow down the curing process and could cause bubbles. So just enough. Make sure you're using an 1/8 inch notch trowel. I'll drop a link to the bio for this one below, but it's my favorite. We make them ourselves, easy clean. So now that I've got it spread out, now that I've got it poured, I'm gonna spread out my polyaspartic just like this so that we have the entire surface coated. At this point, what I'm doing is I'm trying to keep it all on the surface. I'm not trying to get any of it over the edge at this right now. So I make sure I rub all of my edges so that they're wet and gives my product something to flow over. All right, now I've got my product spread everywhere. I've got a little extra here. You can see this mass. So I'm just gonna take my bucket and my trowel, and I'm gonna work my way down, and I'm just gonna collect the rest of it in there. I'll use on these other pieces I'm getting ready to pour as well. I'm gonna pat my surface out. That I don't wanna break up any surface tension I have. So if you look right here closely, you see these lines and this little, where it's going through to the surface is not covered. This is surface tension. This is what I'm trying to eliminate. So I'm just gonna take my fingers and we're gonna pat it out to make sure that the coating's got a smooth, it just disappears just like that. So I'm gonna do the entire surface in preparation to receiving the design. This booger. like that. Now that we got the first part done, we're gonna bang through these other two really quickly. Okay, for this design, the lady picked out a brown, and we're gonna do a light marbling throughout it, and it'll be really, really beautiful. So I'm just gonna dab these in, just like that. Now come close, I wanna show you a little trick. See right here, I got some junk in my coat. That's not able to come out. That actually is the surface chipped up a little. I was a little aggressive with my trowel. So here's a little trick. I'm gonna make a vein that goes through that. And just like that, it's not an issue for me anymore. So if you have any little blemishes or anything that is in your coats that you want to take care of, just make sure when you put your powder in, you can cover it up. Ideally, you don't want to have any, but in the real world, things happen occasionally. And I'm just using it in a non-symmetrical pattern, tapping as I go, just like the marble technique. If you haven't seen that one, check out that video. I've got a couple of them. Make sure you're coming down the edges with your colors, and you'll be good to go. I like to connect veins with existing ones, just like that. And just like in everything else, I can always add to, but it's a lot harder to take away. So I'll approach my color to get a little darker if I want. I kind of like how this vein is going light there, so I'm not gonna bother that. And then I'm just gonna put a little here to add some accent. And this client has already told me that she doesn't want a ton. She just wants a lot of negative space and this little accent design. So we're just gonna go lightly on her. All right, I think that looks good. All right, just like everything else, my final step in this to make sure that there's no bubbles and that we have a nice flat surface is I'm gonna torch it out real quickly. Okay, just wanna go over a couple key differences about polyaspartic. It's so similar to epoxy, yet so different. I'll get people to be telling me, hey, I've worked with epoxy for 10 years and the polyaspartic did this. Well, you're new to polyaspartic. Epoxy is something totally different. They're very, very, very similar with a couple of key differences. Epoxy sets with heat and relative humidity, and the polyaspartic is gonna set largely according to humidity. So you're gonna wanna pay attention to humidity when you're working with polyaspartic. The other thing is moisture will affect it as well. It helps polyaspartic set really, really well. So you're gonna wanna be, to make sure you're using good safety precautions. Make sure you're gloving up your hands. Wear masks, I normally wear a mask, it's harder with these videos. And the most important thing is don't touch your eyes. It's real hard, you'll rub yourself or whatever, but you do not wanna get polyaspartic in your eye. It's a no bueno situation. So keep those things in mind, follow those basic tips, and you're gonna have a fabulous outcome using polyaspartic. Like I said, it's one of my favorite coatings. It never yellows, it's super hard, it's really, really durable. It's an excellent, excellent coating. All right, thank you for watching our video on how to apply Polyspartic to a countertop. Remember, we don't ask for any money from you, but we do ask for 3 things. We ask you to like this channel, subscribe, and ring the bell so next time you can get all the great information.